morning, class. So we are done with unit 3. We have discussed topics related to material management, purchase management. Once you purchase, how do you stock it up, the inventory management, store management, and many others. All right, now what we are going to talk about is we have all the material in place. The raw materials are purchased. Now it is time to get the other resources, say your finance, your machines, your men, so far. So all those have to be where, how exactly can we get them, and how do we start production? See, production always require that, see, in order to do anything, for instance, you need to have a plan, right? I get all the materials. I cannot tell my workers start working. They need to know in what way should they work, what exactly should they do, what is the production process, because for each manufacturing firm, for each industry, the way production is done is different. So you can't simply leave it at their hand, right? Okay, leave out the usual workers, the managers as also. Management doesn't mean you focus only on one type of production. They might be equipped with something else, right? So we have to give them a very clear plan as to how to start the production. So we have got our materials, we go and find out the other resources, then we set up certain facilities or certain protocol in so that we can start our production. The main aim of such a thing is that okay, let's start first. Okay, these are the topics which you have to which would be covered in this chapter. So these are the key subtopics, like how we had the 6 topics for the previous chapter. Here we are down with 5. First, we would learn what is production planning, then what is production control, then there is a PPC function or a production planning and control function. Then we learn about what is quality and what is quality control, how can we ensure the quality and all that. Then there are certain techniques which are very important with respect to your exams as well. So those are the quality control techniques. Each of them is pretty easy. We, like for instance, in quality control technique, we would be dealing with some numericals which you don't need to learn. You get the point, right? So let's start with the first one. So the first one is all about planning. So we get the resources along with other materials, and then we arrange it in our factory and start our production. Okay, now, so here one thing that you need to do is you need to decide on the resources. How much men do you require? What are the machines that you require? All your requirements have to be decided upon. Okay, and then you will have to find space to utilize these machines. Yeah, you need to understand. Okay, see, it might be, we have learned in financial management also. Financial management is all about you acquire the fund, but then you have to understand where exactly to efficiently use it, where exactly to allocate. So in the same way, we need labor, we need machines, but how exactly to allocate them is the way which sets apart when you do production planning. Okay, now the actual aim is to have a smooth manufacturing, in addition to which we are looking for an outcome, that is your finished product, which has got the right quality and comes out in the right quantity. And we also, like all other chapters in this subject, we deal with the cost factor. So we try to produce finished goods which have very good quality and quantity, and at the right time, but we try to minimize or try to reduce the cost as well. This is the actual aim of any topic related to production and operation management. Okay, now Mr. Ray Wild has given you a definition wherein they say determination, acquisition and arrangement of all facilities which is necessary for future production of items. So like I mentioned, in addition to your raw materials, you need to fix, allocate and what do I say, facilitate all sort of facilities with respect to your men, machines and other resources, so that you can do your production. Is it clear to you? Okay. There are two subsystems or two components of production planning. First is your product planning system, second is your process planning system. So just like how the word says, product planning system is where you try to draft in a policy or a procedure in order to make a particular product, all right? Or it could be a circumstance wherein you are planning to change. Suppose I have been making this pen pencil. No, let's be different. I was in manufacturing this pencil for like 5 or 6 years since I started my business. Now, since people say are no longer going for the normal pencils, I have to start analyzing the market, and I find out that pen pencil is doing a better job at it, right? So in order to survive in this market, I should stop the production over here and start it here. But the machine which you use to produce this is not the same as this, right? So based on what is my future future market for the new product, or for the modified product, based on which I have to set up the facilities. So that is your product planning system, which is very much specific on your product as such. Then what is your process planning system? Process is where, okay, suppose I've switched over, okay, or I'm just a manufacturer of pen pencils right from start. Now I use, say, yeah, normally I use 5 different stages of production using 5 different machines in order to make this pen. But then I get to know my competitors are just keeping 2 machines, 2 different machines, yes, 2 machines in order to finish up the production of this pen. And I also find out that even though I am employing 5 machines to do the production, the competitor can easily and on beforehand itself get the product by using just 2 machines. Okay, so I understand that my process is complex, but I'm not getting the required finished good within the right time. Okay, it's taking a longer time period, but my competitor is also making the same product by using only 2 machines, but he is getting his finished product before the schedule. Okay, so in order to survive and in order to work on my own capabilities, what do? I try to bring in a process change. I think that let me remove these 5 machines and keep the other 2 machines so that my work happens smoothly. Okay, so these are the 2 subsystems of production planning. So production planning is where you try to obtain the resources and allocate them in an efficient manner so that whatever finished product you come up with has the right quality, right quantity, and comes with a minimized cost. Is it clear to you? Yes. So let's move on. There are different levels of production planning, very important. So in the notes you would find certain examples. This would help you in analyzing what is it all about. Now, the first one is strategic planning. Okay, it is all about your strategy, in which you see what is your current situation, based on which you find that okay, we need to change the position. This current position isn't fine. I need to change this position. Then I take steps so that I can elevate my hold, or I can change my position in a way. You understand the thing? Yeah. So what is the thing that we do here is that we try to analyze what is the current position of the organization in terms of its materials, human labor, human resource, machines, whatever. What is the current position, and if I plan to make a change to it, a future change to it, how exactly do I go about? Okay, so we try to analyze the current situation, then we plan to change the situation to maybe a better position. Okay, what are the ways in which you can do it? How exactly can you guide the company to go from the current position to a better position? That is your strategic planning. Is it clear to you? Now these are long-term plans which is made by the top level management. So you know the pyramid, right? We have the lower level of management, which includes your workers, your casual workers, and all of them. We have the middle level management, which normally you find the managerial people, the managers, the heads of various departments. You will find them in the middle level, and on the top level you have maybe the owners of the company, the board of directors, the executive directors. So you'll find them on the top. So all the decisions which depend on changing the current position of our organization to a better position is taken by the top management. Okay, and those are for long term. Maybe they can only think about reaching that better position only after say 5 or 6 years. Okay, so we have a time period associated, but at the same time it's a very much long-term objective. Then you have tactical planning. Tactical planning is where you don't focus on improving one particular product, but you focus on improving a huge set of products. Alright, you try to do it on a huge set. So like how I gave you an example wherein I am using 5 machines to produce this, but my competitor is using only 2 machines to produce. Seeing that, I will take a decision for my organization by saying that I would remove those 5 machines and get those 2 machines so that work can happen quickly. Is it clear to you? Or another example is, suppose yeah, the summer vacation which we had in school. Yes, so during the summer vacation I understood that none of the stationery items which I produce are being sold because kids don't need it. They need it only when they start the school. So summer vacation my business was very down. Yeah, but then school is reopening from next month onwards. Then I understand that okay, I'll have a lot of customers coming in who want this product. So what do? Seeing that immediate demand in the very next month, I'm going to increase my production or do some changes to my production plan. Yeah, so tactical is where those medium term plans, which is there only for a few months or a very fixed time. It's not there for a long term. So here what happens is we focus on the specific product. We don't focus on the specific product, rather we focus on the aggregate product. We see that what is the immediate change which we'll see in the demand. See, even if school opens the next month, in all the months which follow that which follow the next month, it's not a mandatory thing that you will face that same increased demand. No, the demand might come down, right? So here the thing is, you have to make these plans which can be of a medium term, and they are made by the middle level management. All right, the tactical approach, the way we say tactical approach, in the same way, by foreseeing some changes, you accordingly change your plan. All right, then operational planning. So here it focuses on using your existing facilities in a better manner than setting up any new facilities. Okay, you understand? So in the same example, even if I find the competitor using 2 machines where I'm using 5 machines, rather than throwing off these what do I say, or no, I don't think that example would work out again. Let's say, okay, I'm a worker in this organization. All right, I'm a worker. I find out that I am taking 8 hours to make 10 products. Okay, I am taking 8 hours to make 10 number of products, 10 products. Okay, now if I as a laborer try to increase my efficiency by taking just 5 hours to make 10 products, the organization would acknowledge me for the same. I might even get the Employee of the Week award. So far, those are the schemes which are there in the business world. So when from the lower level of management, from your workers and employees, when they decide that they can increase their operational facility by just increasing their own capabilities, we call it as operational planning. Is it clear to you? So this is all about utilizing the existing facilities. It is all about utilizing the existing labor, the existing plant, rather than going for extra laborers or extra manufacturing plant. Okay, so the first one, so that is the short-term plans which is made by the lower level of management. So strategic is where you understand what is the current position of the organization, you take steps in order to improve it. Tactical planning is where you focus on the aggregate product, on the final outcome of final output, or the final number of units which would be produced, rather than the immediate one. So when you see a competitor using a better technology to increase their production volume, then you decide to do the same thing. Operational planning comes from the lower level management, who believes that it is better to effectively utilize the existing facilities rather than going for a new set. So I hope these are clear to you. All right. Now these are the three simple factors which have a huge bearing on the production planning. The first one is volume of production. So here I'm going for most of them, I'm going to take you back to the first chapter, wherein we learned about different production system like job shop. Job shop was where they end up making only 1 or 2 units, okay, as per the specification of the customer. Example which I kept on giving you was a tailor shop, right? And then we learn about others such as mass production, batch production, those industries which increases their output. Most of their products are standardized, which means they're not very much customized, in which you had certain things which use general equipment. The process is the same for the entire batch of units, but then when you have had different varieties, I gave you a lot of ice cream and their flavors as well. So the machine which, see, the common machine is there which makes the ice cream, but then after that first processing is done, you have different machines, one making vanilla flavor, the other one pista, other one strawberry. Okay, so those were your mass production and batch production. You go back, you'll find all of them. So here what they mean to say is, see, the key thing about production planning is to control the manufacturing cost, to efficiently and effectively control the manufacturing cost. How do they do it? What they do is they check what type of production system is it. If it was the case of a job shop or a unit production, the outcome is maybe 1 or 2 units. Is it clear to you? Yes. And when you're talking about a huge set of volume of output such as mass production, then the planning there is different. In job shop, you just need to plan what should be your raw materials. Yes. For example, if I take a tailor, everyone comes to him with their own requirements, with their own fabric, for instance. So one may be giving a silk, the other one might be giving him some cotton or polyester or whatever. So the raw materials are not very huge in number. They might have different varieties, yes, but the planning of those raw materials is very much minimum in job shop production. Okay, but then when you're talking about an increased output, a very huge output of goods, especially pertaining to continuous production or mass production, then the planning required is different, because there you don't need you can't depend on a very limited number of material. You need more materials. Okay, so based on the volume of production and based on the differentiation between job shop and other huge sources like batch production and mass production, we need to estimate what is the level of production planning to be given to each one of them. Then you have nature of production process. There are certain again, let's take the same example, it's easier. You have job shop production, you have mass production. All right, job shop production, your tailor, it's according to his creativity. Yes, customized version, specifications are given to him, measurements are different, the design is different, yes, but the way one tailor does is very much different from the way the other one does. One might be good, one might not be so good, right? So when it is left to the workers or the employees to decide how to effectively use the facility, we call it as the nature, we find the difference between job shop and mass production. So in job shop, the creativity, the imagination, the talent of the individual worker, he can make his own ways to increase his efficiency. But in the case of mass production, where there's a protocol which is placed everywhere, where everyone has to adhere to the standards and do the production, we call it as we differentiate from the one which we have in job shop. So here the nature of production process is very important. In job shop, they had their workers had their own creativity and talent being put in order to increase the efficiency, but in mass production and other systems, production systems as well, they had to focus on the standards placed by the organization and accordingly work. It was not left to their imagination. They'll have to do it as per the same protocol given to them. All right. Then the nature of operations. Nature of operations in the way that the same thing. How is the job shop production? What is the final output which you get in the job shop production? Maybe 1 or 2 units, right? But if you compare it with say your batch production, there's a huge increase in the number of products. You compare it with mass production, there is a very high increase in the number of output or number of product. So based on the nature of operations, okay, or the nature of production process, both of them are almost similar, which tells you how much of planning is required for job shop, for continuous production, for batch production, and likewise. The one for job shop is very much limited, but for the others, extensive planning has to take place. I hope it's clear. Capacity planning. So here you need to understand your market, be it for any industry, constantly changes. Okay? Constantly changes. So the changes which you make to the men and machines in order to meet that constant changes in the demand of that product, we call it as capacity planning, wherein you decide to either increase your capacity or decrease your capacity based on the changes in demand. Simple example, if for this pen pencil, the demand which I faced during the summer vacations, 2 months, is lesser to the one when school reopens. Right, after those 2 months, when the school reopens, I can find that there's a change in the demand. Okay, so maybe like this month the pencil is going just for, I'm able to sell only 50 units, but next month due to the change in demand I might be able to sell 200 units, right? If I have to sell those 200 units, I need to make those 200 units. And in order to make it, what do I have to do? I have to see whether I have the necessary facility to make 200 units. What if my facility is available only to make 50 units, but not 200 units? Then I'll have to change the facility. So when you try to estimate what is the requirement of men or machines, or when you try to employ further resources in order to meet the change or the fluctuation in demand, we call it as capacity planning. Okay, my capacity would be 50 units on a normal scale, but since I see a difference in the demand, I'll have to increase my capacity so that it can produce 200 units. Rather than 50, 200 is required. You understand? Okay, so there are five forms of capacity. The first one is design capacity. So the engineers or the technical staff in a manufacturing unit, they decide the production plan or the number of planned output which they are looking for. So what they do is they decide, okay, every month, this month the organization should produce 50 units. So those estimates are taken by analyzing the market, by analyzing the type of machines which we have. The engineers or the planners, they take up a predetermined standard. They fix the standard. Okay, so that is your design capacity. It is a standard which is designed by the technical staff or the engineers or different planners. System capacity is the maximum production which is possible by using the existing men and machines. For example, if my demand is 50 units for this pen pencil this month, with my machine I can produce 50 units. But say next month it has increased, I foresee a demand of 100 units. Alright. What do I try to do? I ask the workers whether they are ready to work overtime. Yes, I pay them charges as well. I tell them that, look, we have to produce 100 units, which is double the capacity, right? So if you guys work on overtime, we'll be able to meet the target. So if the employees are willing, they get to the job, right? So system capacity is where you see what is the maximum capacity. By using the same resources, how much of capacity can you reach? By using the same number of machines and using the overtime hours of the same number of laborers, how much can you meet the production capability? Is it clear to you? Yes. Now, license capacity. Now, there are certain industries, certain sectors where the government decides, okay, you can produce only so much of units. Okay, this is very much evidently seen in your nuclear industries. Those who come out with the radioactive material or any other, what do I say? Yeah, nuclear finished product, wherein the government gives them a license. You can only make only so much of units, you cannot go beyond that. So when such a thing is given in the form of a license by the government to the industry unit, we call it as licensed capacity. Then installed capacity. So suppose you go and buy a washing machine. It's very much clearly given to you that this washing machine can only load say 5 kg of clothes in it. That is the load capacity. So when I install a machinery, the manufacturer of the machine or anyone else would tell me that, or the specifications which is given in the label and all that would tell me what is the load capacity or how much of load can be carried by this machine. So when you install a machine, you get to know that this is the capacity, the load capacity of this machine. So when you have installed it, you get to know what is the load capacity. Then the rated capacity. Here it's not, it is not very different. Here what they mean to say is that you try to conduct a lot of, most of the things with respect to manufacturing is based on a trial and error approach. You'll have to keep trying to improve your capacity. If my my aim is to make 100 units to sell next month, I first think, okay, maybe I have to use the existing facility. I start making the products. But towards the end of this month, I find out, okay, I was not able to produce 100, even though I gave the overtime. I could land up with say 70 units. Okay. Then I decided, okay, I need one more machine. This would help me in doing it. I used that machine. Then towards the end, I find that, okay, it has not even reached 70. I'll have to, okay, let's give a larger example that might be clear. After 3 months, no, after 2 months of summer vacation, I am going to face a demand for this particular product in the very next month. So in the first month, I think, okay, let me use the existing machines. So March, no, April, May is my summer vacation. June, classes starting, school classes are starting, for instance. So in April, I decide that, okay, let me use the existing facility. I need to make 100 units. Let me use the existing facility. I find out that I was able to make only 70 units, even though I was making my workers work overtime. Next month, so I understood that it's not possible. Next month, I decide that, okay, it's better to purchase a new machine. Okay. Towards the middle, that is around May 15th, I realized that even this new machine is not helping me achieve the target. Maybe it is bringing it only to 80 units. Then I decide I need one more machine. Okay. So by using that one more machine, maybe I can achieve the 100 units target. So when you go for different trials, in order to understand how exactly can the capacity be built, we call it as rated capacity. Is it clear to you? So I hope the points are clear. Okay, so these are the factors which affect effective capacity. The first one is demand forecast. So like we discussed in the meaning and definition, wherein we understood, we understood that because of the changes in demand, we are bringing about a change in the capacity. So there is one marketing tool which you talk about when with respect to demand forecast. That is your product life cycle. Product life cycle is a sort of curve, yes, but then it analyzes what are the different stages in the life of a particular product. When you introduce the product for the first time, we call it the infancy stage or the introduction stage. Then it slowly catches up in the market, which is in the growth stage. So when I newly introduce, the demand for my product is kind of less. It's going very slow. When I reach the growth stage, people have identified the product, and slowly my product demand is going higher and higher. Okay, but there might be times when it is falling a bit, but again coming back again. So there might be few fluctuations, and from the growth stage it moves on to maturity stage, where the demand is constant. People have accepted the product and it is kind of doing well, stabilizing on my profits. So there the demand does not fluctuate much. But after a period of time, people might realize, okay, there are better products. They might leave my product and go, which means my product demand is going to go down like anything. So that is my decline stage. Okay, so from this, what did you understand? I meant to say that in the growth stage there might be changes, which means there might be fluctuations in demand. Compared to the maturity stage, growth stage would be having more fluctuation. In maturity stage, it is constant demand, right? So what you need to understand is capacity building is done in order to counter the fluctuations in demand. So the fluctuation is more in growth stage. So we can understand capacity building happens more in the growth stage than the maturity stage. So those are the reasons as to why you need to forecast your demand and plan on your capacity. Second one is labor efficiency, again standards of output. We set standards which say that the human laborer should work for so many hours in order to get the process done or to get the product. Okay, so when we compare the standards with the working of the human labor, there might be changes. See, not everyone is efficient enough to maintain those standards, right? There might be certain people who are maybe failing in their age, they're almost reaching their retirement. The way they work and the way the freshers work is different, right? But again, standard is the same, but not everyone is able to meet the standard. So first, what do we need to know? We need to know what is the capability of those laborers. Okay, we need to see what is the efficiency of those laborers. So what can be done is, I have to understand who can do the thing in a better way, whether it is the old experienced or people who are almost reaching retirement or the freshers. Okay, so what I do here is, For example, this this pencil. Okay, the lead takes say wait, I'll give you the numbers. The lead takes around 500 total hours of all the employees working in the lead making section to make the lead. Okay, I find that the lead making department has more of freshers, so which means I'll give them a 80% efficiency rate. 80% of efficiency. Now, in order to understand how to set the standard, I mentioned that we have to consider the labor efficiency because we have different age groups working here. So what do? I take the total number of hours of everyone to make this lead, which is 500 hours, divided by 500 hours for 1 month divided by the labor efficiency. So 500 by 0.80, which is 80%, would give you 625 hours, which means to say you need 625 hours to make this to ascertain that this is the best capacity. In order to find the standard by comparing the efficiency, considering the efficiency also, when you do 500, that is the total hours, divided by 80% or 0.80, we get 625 hours, which means to say in this lead making department, which has an efficiency of 80%, can requires that you need to have, rather than 500 hours, it should be 625 hours. All right, and then what else? So what you can do is, if you have a limited time frame, if they need more hours, so from 500 it has now gone to 625, then we have to make them work overtime. All right, and then we'll talk about plant efficiency. Plant labor efficiency is done. Plant efficiency is where you understand the what is the cost, or how efficient is your machine. Would there be more technical breakdown? Would it be having a lot of technical problems? Would it be needing constant repairs and all that? So you try to analyze whether your plant is efficient enough or not, based on which, like laborers, you would also give them a percentage. For example, the way they own 80% itself. Now, the machine which is used to make this lead of this pencil might be having a labor plant efficiency of 80%. Same example. So normally the machine efficiency goes from the range of 0.5 to 0.95. Let's call it as 0.80, 80%. Now this the number of hours in a month for this machine to make the lead would be around 700 hours, 700 machine hours. So in order to consider the efficiency, we divide 700 by 80%. We get the answer as 875 hours. So even this one cannot maintain the standard of 700 hours. They would need 875 hours. Okay. So if machines have to work on 875 hours, maybe we have to increase the voltage of the machine, or we would have to employ a new machine. Okay, so these are the two tools which you can use in order to see what is the how can we build the capacity by improving the efficiency of plant and laborers. Then multiplicity of shift. We have different shifts, shift, like some of the people in MNCs might be working from afternoon 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock midnight. Some people start their work at 7 o'clock and end by 4 o'clock in the morning. So these shifts are very much commonly seen. Now, why is it very important? There are, for example, an iron and steel industry requires a lot of investment. Is it clear to you? We invest a lot in the building, in the machine and everything. But we employ people, if we employ people only between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., my investment is more than my usual expenses. You need to understand in that way. When your investment in your machines is more, you will get the outcome only from a set of people who works between 9 to 5. They will work only between 9 to 5, and you can think about making a profit only between the work done from 9 to 5. Okay, but when I keep different shift, like morning someone works from previous day evening 7 p.m. to next day 4 a.m. Okay, then I'll have the next shift starting at around 8 o'clock, no, from around 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Then I'll have the second shift at 7 o'clock, and so far. So which means to say I can use the profit from the work done between people doing a 9 to 5 job and a 7 to 4 a.m. job. So when my investment is more, I want more returns from the outcome, I'll have to employ several shifts. Okay, but if my investment in the industry is very less, then the number of shift can also be less. Is it clear to you? All right. Subcontracting. Subcontracting is where I give another third party I get into an agreement wherein they'll be making one component. For example, in the case of this pencil, the wood used is supplied, or the tube is made by someone else. All right. What do? I decide whether, yeah, I decide as to whether it is better to subcontract or make it on my own. We have this make or buy analysis which was dealt in your purchasing as well. So here what you mean to say is, suppose I have to, from my subcontractor, I need to buy the wooden tube at say rupees 40 per tube. Okay. When I do my market analysis, I understand, okay, in order to make the same wooden tube, if I make it, it's going to cost me rupees 30. So if I take it from outside, it's going to be 40. If I make it on my own, it's 30. So I'll make it on my own. Okay. So if I have to make it on my own, I'll have to buy new machinery to make that product. Is it clear to you? Okay. So this is where subcontracting plays a very important role. All right. The last one is policies of management. There are certain policies which have to be adhered to, such as if the management decides to build a new machinery or to get a new machinery. Suppose there is a change in the demand. So for the pencil thing again, maybe this month I'm facing a production demand of only 50 units, but next month I'm facing 100 units. I need to increase my capacity, but I find out that my machine is capable of only making the 50 units, which means to say that I need to wait. In terms of machine, maybe I'll have to get a new machine, or if the organization management does not want that new machine to be, they don't want to spend on the new machine, they can make their workers work overtime and give them overtime charges also. Is it clear to you? So these policies of the management, be it of whatever kind, has a huge impact on the capacity planning. I hope the points are clear. If there's something confusing, please let me know. Some points might be a bit different. You just need to know what do those points mean. But I went for further explanation so that some doubts can be minimized. But if you still have questions, do let me know. All right.